Classroom grading can be a tricky issue. Traditional grading gives students a single letter grade. This is in comparison to a standard-based grading system, which breaks down learning into individual skills and tasks. Instead of a grade average, students are graded on how well they have mastered their individual tasks. In my classroom, I'm going to use the standard-based grading system. In the traditional versus standard-based grading video, they argue that standard-based grading gives a clear picture of a student because it focuses on mastery expectations rather than summing up different aspects of performance into a single grade. I agree with this because I don't think that you can accurately sum up the skills and strengths of a child within one letter grade. Personally, I'm not good at algebra or most types of math, but I can strongly do geometry. If we were traditionally graded, I would receive a C, and people would think that I am bad at math. But in reality, I'm really good at geometry, and it's my strong suit. If I'm given an assessment, I will perform well on it. In my classroom, grades will be given based on accuracy, but students will be allowed to review and make corrections to their answers and work for half credit, along with a sentence explaining what they did wrong and how they corrected it. To notify students of their progress during the grading term, I will have morning small groups. Each morning, I will pull students back into a small group while other students can read or do makeup work. I will group students that have similar struggles with certain topics and help them understand the material more clearly. I will go over with them where they need to practice more at home and even give them packets for extra credit to complete at home. That way, it can substitute an assignment that they did not do so well on. Student achievement will be monitored through the collection of worksheets. As someone who struggles with test anxiety, worksheets are a much easier way to reduce the stress and accurately see where a student is at in their learning. In Teaching Strategies, A Guide to Effective Instruction, they talk about assessments improving learning and not just measuring them. I will give tests in my classroom, but use them to see what topics students are still struggling with and find ways to help them reach their learning goals. Worksheets are an easy way to measure individual assessment rather than cumulative achievement. Effort and knowledge will be weighed in my classroom by my half-point grading system. If a student is knowledgeable about a topic, they will instantly do well on an assessment, but if they don't do well, it is hard to measure how much effort they really put into the assignment. This is why my students will have a chance to go over their answers and correct them, as well as give a sentence explaining what they did wrong and how they corrected it. If true effort was put in, a student should be able to explain their thinking process and how they learned to change it. Good behavior and bad behavior will never affect my grading process. When I was a student teacher for kindergarten at an elementary school, I had a kid in my class named Ryland. Ryland had autism but was put into a class with mostly neurotypical students. This put Ryland meters ahead of his peers, and he would often finish his assignments first. As a result, he would act out of boredom and would often distract his table mates. Although Ryland was super smart, his final assessment grades would always be lower than they should be because of his behavior assessment. Ryland's final assessment did not reflect him at all. This example of a student is exactly why I will not let behavior affect my grading process. You never know why a student is acting out, and even I have good days and bad days. Stimulating students in the classroom is something I am incredibly passionate about because I intend to work at a school that focuses on inquiry-based learning. In Chapter 10 of Teaching Strategies, A Guide to Effective Instruction, we're given two types of inductive instructional models, guided and unguided inductive inquiry. In a guided lesson, a teacher provides information and a student makes assumptions based on the information. In an unguided assessment, students discover specifics before they make generalizations. I think both are great ways to give students freedom and control over their learning. Students will perform better if they have a topic that they are interested in or go to research by themselves. When students do independent research, it allows them to ask questions and find things on their own and unlock a whole world of research. Chapter 10 also prioritizes the idea of inquiry learning and how it creates flexible instruction, not fixed. Overall, inquiry learning can help foster a creative, independent classroom.